Good morning, beautiful people. So today is Friday, so it's a little snippet about hormones today. In case you don't know, hormones are very, very small protein molecules, and they work a little bit in the same way as like a master key. If you had a hotel, with like 300 bedrooms, and you had a master key that would open every door in the hotel. That's a little bit like a hormone. The molecule works, it acts on its target, and then it can go off and act on another target and another target and another target and another target. They're called catalysts because they don't actually get used up themselves in the process of triggering the reaction that they are involved in. So they're like triggers, and they are released from various glands in our body. There's a sort of central control gland sort of in the middle of our head, and there are various other glands. There's the thyroid and the thymus and the ovaries and the testicles and the adrenal glands and the pancreas. There's quite a few different places where hormones come from. So today, and the other sort of important thing about them is that actually we need very, very few of these molecules to be released to do actually quite a massive impact on our bodies. I discovered this when I was doing the microplastics research that I was involved in, and we were looking at the toxic chemicals in water, in the seawater, and how some of them mimic estrogen. And the reason these toxic chemicals are a problem, because they're in, very low concentrations in the sea, is because estrogen is effective at very, very, very low numbers of estrogen molecules. And so you only need a few of these chemical molecules to come into your system to actually replicate the effects of estrogen. Okay, but today I was going to talk about adrenaline. And you can't really talk about adrenaline without talking about cortisol as well. So adrenaline and cortisol are both made in the adrenal glands, which is they're just above the kidneys. And adrenaline you may know of as the fight or flight hormone. So it's like, suddenly you're in a really dangerous situation and you have to flee quickly, and you need your heart to beat faster, you need oxygen to be directed to your muscles, and you need a release of sugar into your bloodstream so that your muscles have a very quick and rapid energy source. So that's what adrenaline does, and it acts very quickly, and it's for a short-term response. Cortisol does basically exactly the same things, but it's for a longer-term problem. So let's say that you were in a battle or something, that was going on for several days or whatever, and you needed that sustained concentration of energy to keep you going. So then cortisol would then kick in to keep your heart rate going and to keep your muscles going and keep releasing sugar for your muscle energies. So, like insulin that I talked about last week, you can, from what I've just said, you can hear that adrenaline and cortisol are just, they're fail-safe mechanisms, they're emergency mechanisms. We shouldn't be in a fight or flight situation every day or several times a day. And, if we are triggering cortisol, it shouldn't be, for more than a few days, or, very, very rarely, infrequently. But of course, because of the conditions that we live in modern society, what's happening is that a lot of us are actually running on adrenaline and certainly on cortisol. And the main triggers for these are stress. We know that, people who are very addicted to computer games, and they get very excited, they're triggering their adrenaline all the time. And, if you're a parent and you have a child who really loves these games and is getting very excited, you should definitely make sure they go out for a run or something afterwards, to burn off that adrenaline, to actually use that sugar that's been released into their system. Because otherwise they're going to end up with, the same problems that we talked about last week. So if you think that you are running on adrenaline and or cortisol, I'd advise, taking up some relaxation techniques. Meditation is the best, so that you at least give your body a chance to return to a resting condition. One of the scariest things about cortisol that I discovered a few years ago is that it actually affects our DNA. It changes our DNA. So repeated, if you're living under almost constant cortisol, high levels of cortisol, like if you live, if you're constantly stressed, what's happening is you're actually changing your DNA, which of course then can have all sorts of other repercussions. So, leave you on that rather scary note. So remember to incorporate some downtime, some quiet time, some rest time into your day, and do whatever you can to avoid stress. I know it's really hard in our modern society. Okay, love you all, and talk to you again tomorrow. Bye. Oh, a little PS here. Caffeine. A lot of us are quite dependent on caffeine for giving us a bit of an energy boost. Caffeine is quite heavily associated with adrenaline and cortisol. It can boost adrenaline and cortisol release, which is why, you can get that bit of a buzz, or you can get that sense of, I can keep going now, I've got a bit of energy to get on with something now. But what happens is, when you constantly are triggering your adrenaline and cortisol, is that in the end the adrenal glands get exhausted. You've probably all heard of adrenal gland exhaustion, and then they just won't release adrenaline or cortisol at all, and then you're in really big trouble. So just to say, to watch out on your caffeine intake. Okay, love you, bye.